Welcome back to Getting Some Head, baby. I'm Michael fucking Rainey here with my buddy Ed McGonigal. Ed, how are you, brother?
What's up, Mike?
Great to see you.
I was gonna ask, how many people canceled before you asked me to be on? There had to be a lot of no shows and cancels that had me on.
Ed, I swear to God, I made a list when I first thought of doing this show, and you were on you made the first cut.
Wow.
So, congratulations.
Wow. Cool. I've never made the first cut of anything. I wouldn't have had myself on the if I made a list, I wouldn't have had me on it. But all right, I guess.
Well, you've been one of my favorites since day one. I think you and Kenzel and Mike Clemens were the first three people that I met doing comedy in Philly, and you've made three of my favorites.
What year was that?
2003.
Right, I thought it was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, Clemens has basically become a shut-in since then. I mean, he doesn't leave his house, but yeah, I don't know. Everybody says that. I'm one of the favorites. And if you look at my W-2s at the end of the year, and it doesn't really reflect that if I'm everybody's favorite. But all right, look at my schedule. I'm not really anybody's favorite. But all right, I guess. Everybody tells me that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you're number one in our hearts, Ed.
But not in the bank account. That's for certainly sure. I failed capitalism. I don't know how to monetize anything.
Well, you've monetized my feelings, Ed.
There you go.
And I got a million questions for you. They're all good ones, though. They're just all an attempt to get to know you better and to give the audience an opportunity to get to learn more about what makes Eddie McGonigal Eddie McGonigal.
Oh yeah, that'll be the creepiest thing ever if you find out what makes Eddie McGonigal Eddie McGonigal. Nobody really wants to know that, but all right, you can ask, I guess.
Ed, do you have any embarrassing injuries?
Embarrassing injuries? I don't know. I mean, I broke my wrist when I was in 6th grade.
How'd that happen?
I fell off a wall. You know, kid, you're playing.
Yeah.
I just fell, and then my father didn't believe I was hurt and refused to take me to the emergency room for 2 hours. Just refused. It was a Sunday and he was enjoying the day drinking, and he kept telling my mother, "What do you mean hurt? He's not hurt." And I was dying in pain. I was 11 years old, crying, and my mother was begging him to take me to the emergency room. Finally, after 2 hours. And the whole way driving him, he was screaming at my mother that you're spoiling this kid. You're babying this kid. He ain't hurt. What do you mean hurt? Then we get there, and me and my mother sat here, and he sat on the other side of the emergency room. He was so mad that he had to go to the emergency room on a Sunday. And then when the doctor came and told, "Oh, it's broken," but first thing my father said, "Well, nobody in my family ever broke a bone. Nobody." So I don't know if the injury was embarrassing or my father's behavior was embarrassing. That was probably more embarrassing. But did he
make him give you a paternity test too, just to ensure that?
Oh, but believe me, he would have loved to have found out that I wasn't his kid. Believe me, he was hoping that his whole life to find out I was I was the mailman's kid. But he was stuck with me. He couldn't get out of it. He couldn't get. But it was. But any other embarrassing injuries? I don't know. How about hemorrhoids? Does that count as embarrassing?
I would say so.
Is hemorrhoids embarrassing? Yeah. That's a proud moment in your life when you had to bend over for a female doctor and she looks and said, "Yep, hemorrhoids."
Isn't it? No, there's got to be a way that I don't even know the legality of it or what protocol dictates. But can you request a male come into the room just to examine you instead?
I don't know, but I wouldn't because I mean it's embarrassing either way. But if I had to have somebody back there, I'd rather it be a female. To be honest with you, I'd much rather have a female doctor. I mean, it's embarrassing either way, but
I went one time. I was having trouble with my boners, Ed.
Nice.
Because I was whacked on pills and I had trouble getting a boner. And I went to just see what the issue was. I kind of knew what the issue was, but I didn't want to hear that I was taking too many pills. But I swear, not only was the doctor female, the physician's assistant was female, and they were having nurse trainees come in that day.
Nice.
So I think every chick that was in the medical field in Delco happened to be in the room that day to check out my little
That almost sounds like a lot of fun. You think about it. It sounds like a pup daddy party. You one guy and 6 girls? That sounds like a freak off in the Hamptons.
I'll invite you next time.
That's pretty cool. Kenzel did. He had a story where he went to the doctor and he said, Can I not have any females in the room? But then there was a female in the room anyway, and he was mad about it for months because he requested no females. I said, well, I was reading actually an article where men are going to have, because women going into the medical field are outnumbering men.
Okay.
So men are going to have to accept that they're going to get examined by women. It's just by the numbers.
Okay.
It's not going to be. It's going to be unavoidable at some point.
Jesus, man, I got to figure something out.
No, I mean I have no problem with it. I got a prostate exam from a female doctor.
How'd that go?
It wasn't as bad as I thought. I mean, I would have been a lot worse for the man. I think I'm sure it would have been a lot more painful. So it was
Now, what did they do for that? Did they prepare you, or did they just go for it?
Not really. I mean, my doctor told me, you got to go get a prostate exam. So I made the appointment and went. You get in the room. She just said, oh, let me sit. First they examine your front. Then you got to bend over. You're on your elbows. Spread your legs, and they put some gel on. And, And I don't know what she was doing, but it took a while. And she said, don't hold your breath. Just relax. And I was like, well, how are you going to relax when this is going on? But whatever. But I was a clean bill of health. So,
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. But again, it was like a Puff Daddy party. Another Puff Daddy party.
I think you'd be a big hit at a Puff Daddy party, Ed.
Oh, yeah, they'd love me. They'd love me, Puffy and the boys. I saw today where he was getting a character witness called.
Christ,
who's going to
that?
be a character witness? You'll probably end up getting a bigger jail sentence than Puffy does just because you're the character witness. Who would be his character witness? And see the jury?
No.
8 men and 4 women. So it's just like a Puff Daddy party. 2 guys for every woman. It worked out perfect.
Now, here's the deal. What if Kenzel got brought on trial for having a Kenzel party, and he brought you as a character witness? What could you say about John Kenzel?
But he wouldn't want that, because if I was under oath and had to tell the truth, he's going to jail for life. If I had to tell the truth about everything I've seen Kenzel do, and I know he's getting the electric chair. So he would not want me as his character. He wouldn't want anybody who knows him. He'd want to get a stranger as his character witness. It's the only way he'd get acquitted. He would not want a friend as his character witness.
Is he buying stink bombs down by the docks?
He's unbelievable. They have that the night before Thanksgiving. They had the Big Daddy Graham and Joe Conklin would organize their get together. That lunatic one year set off stink bombs. And I don't know how many he set off because it was ungodly. There's a back because the guy who owns Chicky and Pete's, him and Big Daddy were tight. So he would give Big Daddy this back private room to have this party in. And it cleared out the whole room. Yeah. So God knows how many stink bombs Kenzel set off. But I mean, if they had found out, he would have been in trouble. They would have, he would have got prosecuted. You got to be out of your mind. This is Chicky and Pete's, a major business. This isn't and you're setting these stink. I was the only one there. As soon as I smelled it, I said, "Oh, Kenzel." Everybody else was just, what had they thought there was some kind of gas leak? And they didn't know. And I was the only one who knew actually what happened. So I just left. I just went and got in my car. And I didn't want to be the guy who ratted them out. And I don't know if Joe Conklin and the rest of the guys still to this day know what happened. But it was unbelievable. And he did it one night at the Comedy Cabaret open mic, too, cleared the room out. You remember the open mic up on Boulevard? Yeah. And Mike, the bartender, is blaming some guy who had nothing to do with it. I mean, I think you did it. And the guy was standing, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And I knew it was Kenzel. And I go, oh, my God.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm stunned that Kenzel's reputation hasn't preceded him in these places, because the second I hear the word stink bomb, I instantly think of Kenzel now.
Of course.
Not even smell one, but just even hearing the word stink bomb.
And the best, here's the best. One time he was working a couple cabaret gigs with Pat O'Donnell. Yeah. And in 2 different locations. And he set a stink bomb off in both one. And Pat actually said to John, John, every time we work together, somebody sets off a stink bomb. What do you think it is, Pat? There's only one other person there. Is it the same? You think that narrows the suspects down? But he didn't get it. He didn't get that it was John doing it.
Here's what I think it is. Ed, I think Kenzel has a sweetness about him and a childlike quality that people don't want to believe that he would cause that kind of chaos.
Yes, he's a great actor. That sweetness and childlike innocence is completely false, but people buy it. That's the problem. People do buy it. You're right. He's a sociopath, if you want to know the truth, but they think he's not. They think he's not, so.
Ed, have you ever been fired from a job?
Oh, several jobs. I got fired from a long-time job. You didn't know this story? 2013, that factory I worked in for I worked there 2 different times for a total of 27 years. There was this Puerto Rican guy, smart ass, constantly running his mouth, constantly telling me I was a faggot and a bitch and a pussy. And we would get into it, verbally. And this one day, it was first thing in the morning, I wasn't in the mood, and he starts in with that and jabbing his finger like this close to my face, and I just shoved him. Yeah. So then he goes crying to the human resources that I hit him for no reason. Yeah. And then this Puerto Rican girl was his witness. And, Eddie just attacked him. Lewis didn't do nothing. Never mind the faggot pussy. Yeah. That didn't happen. Yeah. So by the time they called me in the human resource, they had the story already.
Oh, what the fuck!
And so I got fired from this 20
for violence in the workplace.
Again, this was constant with this. Yeah, this was constant, and the one supervisor knew it too. He knew the guy was doing this, but it was let go. So then I got escorted off the property, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I actually got a penalty. I couldn't collect unemployment at the time. I had to wait 6 weeks because, you're being penalized because you got fired for cause. So they made me wait 6 weeks to collect unemployment. Then there were other jobs, like part-time jobs and stuff. I got fired for not being good enough. But that was the worst one. 20 plus years, 27 years, and get walked out the door because of violence in the workplace.
That's insane.
And I did put my hands on him, but to me, we both should have been fired.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, it doesn't matter. It's over.
Yeah. Are you happy you don't work there anymore?
Yeah, the place closed, actually. It closed in 2021 after the pandemic. They closed and they moved to South Carolina, I think, and I just fuck them. Fuck them. Good, I'm glad they closed. I'm glad they closed. Fuck them. But, I mean, it was 8 years later, but still, I'm glad they closed.
What was the... I love it. What was the first job that you had?
That.
Really?
I work in that factory. It's funny you say that because today, as we're taping this, today is May 13th, 2025. You know what happened 40 years ago today?
Move?
The move bomb.
Yeah.
I was working there. I was 19 years old, and I was working a 4 to midnight shift. And we up on Rising Sun Avenue in the Crescentville section of Philadelphia, and we were looking out the window at the orange sky. It was the glow from the fire from West Philly. We didn't know what happened, and we found out later that the city had dropped a bomb on the move house. We couldn't understand why the sky was so orange.
For a second, did you think it was Kenzel?
If I had known him back then, I would have thought that. I would have thought that, yeah.
That was one of my earlier memories because I was 5 years old, and we had just moved to my house in Upper Darby, which was like 8 blocks from the move.
Oh, wow.
We were right on the border of West Philly.
West Philly and Upper Darby, that's right.
And we heard it, and we saw smoke, and initially we didn't have any idea what was happening. But as the news started to spread, people started pouring down our street because our street was like, the entryway into West Philly. And when I knew shit was really bad is I saw nuns from my school, St. Alice. The nuns were walking down there.
Just to get a look at it.
I hope to pray, but
pray.
But they're probably being friggin' looky-loos.
Maybe they were taking a collection up. Catholic people, they take collections up. They don't miss a chance to take up a collection.
But I knew it was serious when I saw the nuns going down there.
Wow, yeah, but I remember that. We couldn't figure out what was going on then. I remember getting home, I guess. I was taking a bus back then. I don't think or maybe I was driving. I guess I was driving by that time. I can't remember, but I heard about it after I got out of work.
Yeah.
That they dropped the bomb on the move house and it burned down a block and a half of the city. They showed them.
If
you fuck with us, we'll burn down other people's houses. We'll show you.
If you had the means, would you drop a bomb on that Puerto Rican guy's house?
Oh, I'd love to see him again. I really would, because it's better I don't, because I don't know what would happen. I'd probably end up in jail if I ever saw him again. Yeah. So thank God I'd never seen him again. He was a piece of garbage.
Ed, what's something that you've overcome that you didn't think you were going to be able to move past?
Well, probably that, because I was so pissed off about getting fired that I was in a really dark place for a while. But that probably that, I guess. I didn't know if I would ever get a job again, or I was just all fucked up for a while. But so probably that.
Do you remember the turning point for that, where you're just like, I guess it's going to be fine?
Probably about a year later. I mean, or maybe it was less, but I started working part-time at this place in my neighborhood, then full-time, and I just eventually was able to forget about it. But I was fucked up for a while. Yeah. Because I lost everything. Lost job, health insurance, lost everything.
Yeah.
Yes. But whatever.
From the jobs that I've lost, it's like it rattles you because like you realize how much of your identity is wrapped up in your job. Exactly. And you're like, what do I do? Like,
exactly.
Ed, who is somebody that makes you laugh?
Who is somebody that makes me laugh? You mean local, famous?
Anybody. Who's the first person that comes to mind?
First person that comes to mind. I don't know. Conan O'Brien. I love Conan O'Brien. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's the first. I mean, Don Rickles is probably my favorite all the time. Rickles and Newhart.
Yeah.
And it just so happens they were best friends, but they probably were my two favorites.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Rickles and Newhart. Yeah. What, you didn't know they were best friends?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, Judd Apatow. He made a documentary about him. It's only like 20 minutes long. It's on YouTube. It's called Bob and Don: A Love Story. About how their friendship. And it's great.
I like that. It's great. I like both those guys.
It's great. Bob and Don: A Love Story. It's great. But yeah, they were best friends for years. And the two wives, and they used to travel all the time. Yeah, they were great buddies.
Rickles is somebody who I'm still pissed at myself because I kept swearing that one day I'm going to go see him. One day I'm going to go see him.
Oh, me too. And I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at myself. I always wanted to see Don Rickles and Frank Sinatra. And I could have seen Rickles opening. I could have got 2 birds with 1 stone because Rickles used to open for Sinatra.
Yeah.
But I thought about it, never did, and I regret not seeing Rickles always.
Yeah.
I'm gonna for the rest of my life. I'm gonna regret not seeing him.
Did you used to go see a lot of shows?
I used to go see a lot of concerts. Yeah.
What'd you like?
I mean, I used to see Rolling Stones and Springsteen, Paul McCartney, The Who. I saw saw all those big acts. But I mean, now it's just so fucking expensive. I'm done. It's amazing. But I used to go to see all the concerts.
Did you go to Live Aid?
No, I didn't go to Live Aid, which was funny. It was exactly 2 months later after the MOVE bombing, July 13th, 1985, and both in the same city, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It was exactly 2 months later. And I remember some people I was working with went to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I thought about getting tickets. I might have tried to get tickets. I can't remember, but it didn't work out. But I remember watching it. It was live on the radio, and MTV carried it. I remember following it the whole day. It was great, but no, I didn't. It probably would have been a tough day. From what I heard, it was so hot down there, and it was such a long day that it might have been a little brutal. But
yeah, I remember watching footage, and they were just squirting people with hose.
Yeah, they did. They
squirted
people. They squirted people with. I heard about that. Wow, that's crazy. And they were quick. They were so. I guess they were so afraid of lawsuits, people passing out or whatever, or dropping dead. And it was ungodly hot that day, July. Yeah, but I guess it would have been cool. But I saw a bunch of concerts at Vet Stadium, and I always loved it. But
I did too, man.
The Tower Theater. Did you ever go to the Tower Theater?
I did. I saw Jim Norton there.
Wow.
I don't think I saw a music concert, but I saw Jim Norton there. And do you remember the show The Kids in the Hall?
Oh yeah.
I saw a live version of Kids in the Hall there, which I hated.
Me and Kenzel went to see The Kids in the Hall down on Broad Street, 2014, I think. And I thought it was great. I loved their live show. The one
I love the show itself. But
maybe I don't know what. Maybe it was just me, but me and Kenzel, I loved it the night we saw him. Then one of those theaters on Broad Street, I can't remember which one, but it was great. I loved The Kids in the Hall. But yeah, the Tower Theater was awesome. I saw the Kinks there. I saw Squeeze there. I love the Tower Theater.
Even though I didn't see any musical acts there, I went down one night when Vanilla Ice was performing there.
Nice.
And my sister and I, we were waiting outside with my mom, and we were waiting for fucking hours. There was like the back alley is where they'd park the bus, whatever street that is. I think it was Ludlow, and they would just go in the back alley. We were waiting for hours, and I was starving. I was begging my mom to walk up the street, 69th Street, to get me a pizza from Leandro's. And she's like, all right, let's go get it. And sure enough, as we went to go get the friggin' pizza, we got back, and my sister was crying. She's like, he just came out. I've hated my sister ever since.
Vanilla Ice.
Not your speed?
Were you big into Robbie Van Winkle?
Yeah, I did love Robbie Van Winkle.
Robbie Van Winkle.
Yeah, this was 91. It was like right when Ice Ice Baby hit.
Wasn't the story that Suge Knight threatened to throw him out a window? So they had some kind of, if he didn't sign a contract, he actually threatened to throw him out a window. So
yeah, he held him over the balcony until he signed the rights over.
Right. That's awesome. Now, that's showbiz. Threatened to hang him over. That's funny. That's funny. Threatened to throw him over. Jesus Christ. Saw that in the movie, you wouldn't believe it. That is awesome.
Was there any rap that you liked?
I like the Beastie Boys a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a typical white guy. I say the Beastie Boys. Yeah, but I mean, and Run DMC was kind of fun. Not that I'm gigantically knowledgeable about their music, but that's kind of fun. But no, I'm not really into rap. No, I can't. No, I'm a typical white guy. Just I never got it.
Yeah.
I never got rap.
What was your favorite band as a kid?
Favorite, but I mean the Beatles and the Stones, of course, and Springsteen, that kind of stuff. You know, the typical boring white guy. You know, Springsteen and Tom Petty were like Jesus to me because I'm typical boring white guy. You know how that is.
Who do you think you've seen the most?
Oh, the Rolling Stones. I saw 6 times.
Holy shit, man!
Yeah, that's the most. Springsteen 4 times. But yeah, but I mean, now it's just gotten too expensive. I would still love to go to concerts, but I'm done.
Yeah.
The last one I went, 2018, I saw U2. And that's probably going to be it. That's probably going to be the finale. 7 years ago. That'll probably be the wrap up.
If you could go anywhere to see a show without worrying about the cost, where would you go? What venue?
Where would I go? Places that still exist, or from history, or anything.
Any.
Maybe the Tower. The Tower was an awesome place
cool,
to see.
Man.
It was an awesome place to see a show. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've never been to Madison Square Garden or Radio City
Very
Music.
cool.
Hollywood Bowl. How cool would that be to see a show at the Hollywood Bowl? That would probably be awesome. Yeah, yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I'm sure there are venues around at like places like Los Angeles and Chicago that I'm not familiar with that are probably great, right? Probably awesome. I don't know.
Well, the Hollywood Bowl is one that I think about too. The first time I went to Los Angeles, I went with Kenzel, and you know how it's located in Griffith Park, and we there weren't Ubers at the time. It was 2013, so it's like we didn't rent a car, which was stupid. So we were just taking cabs everywhere, and there were no cabs to come up there unless they dropped you off at the top of where the Griffith Observatory was. So we had to walk down, and we went down along the way where the Hollywood Bowl is at the bottom of the of Griffith Park.
Wow, yeah, that must be awesome. Because you see the old record, the Beatles made a record there.
Yeah.
Beatles live at the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, I would love to have been there.
I think it was it's right by Hollywood and I think Highland. There's a bar there called the Power Plant, and the Beatles actually.
Where's Hollywood High School? Isn't that close to there too? Huh?
Yeah,
right.
It's like a block away.
Right,
which is where Jimmy Kimmel records.
Okay, I thought the Hollywood Highland was where the high school was. I thought so. Okay.
But at the intersection of Hollywood and Highland, there's a bar there. I think it's called the Power Plant. But that's where the Beatles would drink during the day.
Wow.
Before they went and did the shows at night.
Wow. That's awesome.
Which I think it's closed since then, but at the time, like, we went in and we got to have a beer there.
John Lennon was supposedly a mean drunk. A mean drunk.
Yeah, it's a bummer to hear.
The famous story is at Paul McCartney's 21st birthday, he beat the shit out of some guy, almost killed him, put a guy in the hospital. I don't know what the guy did, but he almost killed the guy.
John Lennon did?
Yeah, and I don't know what the guy did, but he was vicious. He was supposedly a really mean drunk.
Oh, that's a bummer to hear, man.
Yeah.
And what quality do you find most attractive in a woman?
Most attractive in a woman. The ability to take the money and keep her mouth shut, maybe. I don't. That's big. That's big. Don't undersell that. I don't know. I'm not the guy asking about qualities in women. Most women just keep their distance from me. You know, there's usually like an unofficial restraining order. She doesn't file it, but I know and they know, so I stay away from them. We both observe it. We both on the honor system. You know.
Hey, well, I mean, I'm just like what you like. You know, it's. You know,
these the same questions you ask everybody. Is that
no, I got different questions for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like Dick Cavett, sort of. I know the questions.
Yeah, little Dick Cavett.
You really do it perfect. You ever see the way I do my podcast? Everything's written down on a piece of loose leaf. I mean, it looks awful, but it works.
Oh no, you're wheeling and dealing, baby.
Yeah, but it's just awful. But I got my show, the McGonigal podcast, America's stupidest podcast. Is this on? This is on. You got cameras rolling, right?
Yeah, right there.
I thought you do. Yeah. NPR for Dummies, the McGonigal podcast. Check it out. Check out the McGonigal.
Did you make that?
No, the guy who owns the studio made it. It's pretty cool. NPR for Dummies. Meet the Press for Stupid People is my podcast. It's just awful how stupid it is. But
well, I loved it when I did it, man.
If you have an hour to just be stupid, tune into the McGonigal podcast.
Yeah, I got to do it last summer. I did it with my buddy Mike O'Donnell. We had a blast, man.
Yeah, that was great. I'd love to have you back. Yeah,
count me in, baby.
I didn't know you were moving. That's awesome, man. At Austin.
Yeah, we're moving in July 1st.
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Have you ever met Joe Rogan? Have you ever met him?
No.
He's like the king down there, isn't he?
I know.
The unofficial mayor of Austin now.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get to meet him, man. And his club looks incredible, man.
I'm sure. What's it called? The Mothership.
Yep.
Now, Austin, Texas is this red Republican state except for Austin, right?
Yeah, Austin
is like this
pretty liberal.
left wing, artsy place. That's
yeah.
Of course, Texas is gigantic, so yeah, you'd have room for everything, I guess.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. There's
awesome.
Comedy everywhere. You would crush. Did you ever visit there?
I would probably be crushed, like I am everywhere else when it comes to comedy. I would be crushed. No, I've never been to Texas, anywhere in Texas.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
I'm sure.
I've been to Austin, and Dallas was very cool because the site of the Kennedy assassination, it looks almost exactly the same as it did in '63.
That's good that they've done improvements. That's good. Did you go to the school book depository?
Yeah, well, you could take tours in there. There's actually a museum in there, and the grassy knoll and the structure outside of it, like that whole area, it's just you feel like you're transported back in time.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
it's really it's nuts to be there, and they marked off both spots where Kennedy was shot in the street.
Really?
Yeah, so there's people standing out in the middle of the friggin' street at any given minute.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure the nuts are still down. It's amazing. 60 years later, people are still that fascinated by the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they got the museum right there. It's the bottom floor of the book depository.
Wow. Yeah, I think my traveling days are over, too. I mean, I went, I did a little bit of travel, but it's probably done, too. I've gotten so cheap in my old age that I don't know that I'll ever make it down there.
Where did you like to travel to?
I went to I went to Los Angeles. I went to Chicago several times, Boston, Vegas a couple times. Just that kind of local domestic travel. I never went overseas or anything. No, I could have cared less about Europe. People were fascinated by Europe. I never had any inclination to go to Europe.
What places did you like the best?
I don't know. Chicago was pretty cool.
I loved it there.
Even though now it's turned into, I guess, Dodge City from what you read about Chicago. But Boston was pretty cool. Vegas, of course. Vegas was great. I went two times. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I'm probably done traveling. Probably. Now I'm up in lovely Mayfair and Northeast Philly, which is his own kind of hell, but that's all right.
When you traveled, did you get to perform out there?
No, I was just on vacation. I never performed anywhere. Just used to go on vacation, like a lot of baseball games, seeing the Phillies in different cities and seeing baseball games. That got to Notre Dame to see football games, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Did you check out Wrigley when you went?
I went and saw the Phillies in Wrigley.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 30 years ago. I saw the Phillies in Wrigley. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
I just went for the first time last spring. It made me emotional because the Cubs weren't playing, but I took the tour.
Right.
And when you walk through the walkway that leads out into the field, it was it just felt surreal because it's always a place that I'd wanted to visit, and I love old timey baseball shit. Like that looks the same, Fenway looks the same, so it feels really strange just being able to finally see those places.
Well, speaking of old timey baseball, today as we record this, Shoeless Joe Jackson was finally reinstated.
He got in. Yeah.
Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose.
They'll put him in, man.
That's amazing. They're back into baseball. Whether they'll get in the Hall of Fame or not, I don't know. But But they purposely waited till Pete was dead.
Yeah.
You know they did. They purposely waited. Then they lifted the suspension. Yeah. They did it just to be spiteful. Just to wait till he's dead.
Well, he just died last year, didn't he?
He just died. I don't even know if it's a year. It might be less than a year. They just waited purposely just to spite the guy.
You love spite, I can tell.
I know. It's just amazing to me that they would do that.
What was the last thing that made you vomit?
The last thing that made me vomit. I know. I don't. This is like 9 years ago. I don't know what it was. I had some stomach problem, and I threw up 9 times in one day. I thought I was dying. Kenzel, I called Kenzel. He took me to the emergency room, which is the one that we didn't stop off at like a flea market or something on the way with Kenzel. But he took me to, he didn't have to stop and get weighed or something. He took me to the emergency room, and they do a CAT scan. They can't find anything wrong with me.
Uh-huh.
And this is when I was just in pain. Then after they said, we can't find anything, but you check back with your regular physician. So I go home, and then I start throwing up. Then I threw up. This is after they told me there was nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so then I went, and I had a bladder scan and a colonoscopy, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. But so I don't know what it was, but I don't know if I had a virus or somebody said you might have passed the stone and not known it. But wouldn't they have caught that? You would think they would have caught it. But I threw up 9 times in one day, and I still, to this day, have no idea what caused it. And I thought I was dying. I thought I got to have a tumor or something. You don't have this kind of pain and you're throwing up. There's got to be something serious.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then I felt like shit for like 2 weeks. Then one day, I woke up, it was a Saturday, and I woke up and I actually feel all right. And then I was fine after that. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what happened or what caused it.
At any point, were you so discombobulated that you had a heart-to-heart with Kenzel?
No.
How much you loved him?
That's the last thing. I think he was telling people. God knows what he was telling people. I think he was telling people that I was pregnant. That no one Kenzel. God only knows what he was telling people. But it was the craziest thing that I threw up 9 times in one day and could never get to the bottom of it.
Do you eat good or?
No. But I've never had a problem since then. This is 9 years ago, and my diet certainly hasn't improved. That's for sure. But I thought for sure this is it. Curtains. I'm on the way out.
Now, what does a typical day look like for you, food-wise?
Food-wise? Oh, incredibly boring. I mean, I pretty much have the same breakfast every day. A bowl of cereal and a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And then at lunch, I might have a sandwich, like some lunch meat, or I might have just a banana. Mm-hmm. Dinner is, maybe some chicken or maybe some spaghetti, maybe a hot dog, but nothing. I mean, I'll have on the side, I'll have, I don't know, corn or something, maybe some applesauce. It just completely nothing. You couldn't find anybody with a blander, more boring diet than me. So I go to this cheap supermarket and buy some stuff, and then I scrape 3 meals together. I mean, that's a day in my cuisine. That's my cuisine. It's just awful. It's just no excitement, nothing. Just nothing but boring. But I don't.
What's the most unique cuisine that you've tried?
emotion. It isn't anything. It couldn't be anything that's exotic. I mean, I don't know. I've never really tried anything that's really like. I guess I'll try, but that would be interesting. I don't think it's always been bland meat and potatoes. Typical Irish moron who only eats meat and potatoes, pretty much for the most part. Yeah, I know.
You eat like a man.
Well, I eat like an Irish man. That's the sad part of it.
Have you ever been to Ireland? Oh, that's right. You mentioned you don't like Europe.
I never went to Europe. I mean,
Jeez.
people say you got to go to Ireland. You got to. My parents went. I never went. People, oh man, I don't know. I don't think I'm missing anything. I had enough Irish relatives. I think I got a taste of it, so I don't need to go over there. But I know not that I would refuse to go. But I don't care for that. And I never. But when you read now about all the shit going on at airplanes and airports, I never want to go. I haven't been on a plane since 2006. I'd like to keep it that way. I have no desire to go be in one of those airports.
Eddie, what do you think you would do if terrorists made it known that, like, all right, we're hijacking this plane?
And I'm on it?
Yeah.
I'd probably die like everybody else. I'm not going to pretend I'm not Steven Seagal. I'm not going to save the day. I'd just be fucked like anybody else would be. What do you think would happen?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
There's
just
nothing.
judging by how you reacted to the guy busting your balls at work, I feel like you would do something.
Well, maybe if I knew I was going to die, maybe I'd curse him out. Maybe, I don't know. But there wasn't a whole lot of, everybody saw if I was on that plane, I would have did this. Uh-huh. You would have been dead like everybody else. That's all bullshit. You would have done nothing. What would you have done on 9/11? Nobody would have done anything. You would have just died. That's all. It's the same thing with shootings or school shoot. Oh, if somebody came in with a gun, no, you'd get shot like everybody else. That's what you would do. You're not going to play hero. You think you are, but you're not. You're not going to play hero.
Ed, who was somebody who gave you a boost when you needed it?
I'm staring at that cat. That cat is scratching that window.
There's no chance he gets in here, I promise you.
No, it's just I believe it. Who was somebody who gave me a boost when I did? I don't even know. I don't even know who I could point to a boost when I needed it.
Like, did you have like a teacher or a mentor when you were a kid who just really...
Nobody wanted anything to do with me. But believe me, nobody could have cared less. I could have dropped dead. I could have disappeared. Still today, I could drop dead or disappear. Nobody would care. There was no boost. There was none of that. No. Boo. That's funny. Mentor. Oh, people couldn't have got away from me fast enough.
No coaches or anything took a liking to you?
Oh, coaches. Yeah, I was a big athlete. You had to be playing on team. You imagine. I played a couple years of Little League, and I easily was the worst Little League player in history. Uh-huh. I never got off the bench. I don't think the coach would have known my name if he got a court order. What's this kid's name? He wouldn't have known it. Teachers didn't know who I was. I just sat in the back of the class and daydreamed.
Were you a class clown?
No. I was just a kid staring out the window, not paying any attention, thinking about baseball or comedy. Yeah, I was bad student, no friends, just terrible.
When did you realize you were funny?
When did I realize I was funny? Well, I don't know if it was I realized. I just used to always watch comedians and comedy shows. Mm-hmm. And, even when I was young, I used to think to myself, I want to do that. I want to be involved in that. I wish I didn't, because then I would have had a much more productive life and much more satisfying life. But that's all I thought about. I want to do that. Yeah. And nobody ever told me I was funny. I just had this stupid thing in my head. I think I can do that. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to my first open mic, I didn't tell anybody. I just went out, and I was going for I was probably going to open mics and even then started getting some MC work, and nobody knew about it. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, I forget, some people found out about it, but I wasn't even telling people. Because people would have just said, you're going to get up in front of people? But who wants to see you? Which they were probably right. Nobody does. Still, to this day, nobody wants to see me. So they would have been right. But now, nobody ever told me I was funny. It was just some stupid thing I had in my head, which I don't know where I got that from.
Did you get a good reaction the first time you went up?
First time I went on stage, I actually got some laughs, but I also got heckled. The first open mic, there was the old Comedy Works down on Chestnut Street in Philadelphia. There was this dude, I can't remember his name, but his nickname was Boneless. Boneless. And I don't know what I said, but he yelled something out, and I sort of stopped, and then I rolled my eye, and I got a laugh, rolled my eyes at him. Because I didn't know how to respond to a heckler. What the fuck was the first time I was ever on stage? And then I just kept going with the dumb jokes I had written down. I had on a piece of paper. Yeah. I'd hate to see those. I'd hate to see those because they had to be horrible, I'm sure. But I got some laughs. And then I bombed like 5 or 6 open mics in a row after that first one. But, Yeah, I got heckled the very first time I was on stage by a guy nicknamed Boneless, of all
What was
things.
it? Was he a comedian or just a guy?
He was a guy who's signing up for the open mics.
Okay.
I don't know if he ever worked or not, but he was a guy signing up for the open mics, and he wasn't a bad guy. I talked to him a couple times, but it was I don't know what, I forget what I said or what he said, but it stuck in my mind that this guy yelled something out. Who would do that? Who would heckle somebody on the very first open mic? But that happened to me.
White guy?
Yep, white guy. I couldn't even battle with racism. It was a white guy. At least I could get the racism out there. I couldn't even blame that. It was a stupid white guy. Stupid white guy.
What's the largest amount of cash that you've ever had on you?
Largest amount of cash I ever had on me. Largest amount of cash I ever had on me. I can't even tell. I'm sure when I went on one of those vacations, I guess I took a lot of cash with me, but I can't remember exactly how much. I don't know. What's the largest amount I ever had on me? That's I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Did you ever have like a big like casino night or a lottery day or?
Big. I mean, I went to casinos in Vegas, but I was not much of a gambler. You know what I mean? I probably only maybe played the slot machines or something. I'm never a big card player or anything like that. Nah, I never did that kind of stuff. I tried sports gambling a little bit back in the 80s, and thankfully I was so bad at it that I quit, that I didn't get to the point where I got
too, man.
Where I was spending lots of money. I was losing like $50. Thank God I didn't get sucked. Thank God I said to myself, I suck at this and stopped, because you could get sucked into sports gambling.
Oh, yeah.
So thank God I didn't. I quit while I knew I was bad, and I quit, which I wish I had done it for comedy, but unfortunately, just for gambling.
When's the last time that you worried about your safety?
Worried about my safety. Well, my neighborhood has gone downhill, but I don't know. I don't even know if I worry about my safety. So the last time I worried about my safety, I should be worried in my neighborhood, because people always tell me to move, but I have no intention of moving. Last time I worried about my safety, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm just oblivious. I guess maybe I'm in a fog. I don't really worry about my safety. Probably should, but I don't.
Do you remember the last time you freaked out on somebody?
It was probably that time I just told you when I shoved that. I guess that was the last time. Yeah, which I don't know. I can't even think of if I've had an argument since then. In the last 12 years since that happened. No, I doubt it. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have that many people I'm close with to where it would escalate into an argument. Yeah, no. That was probably the last time, I guess.
You ever have any road rage issues?
I get pissed off in my car, especially, which I try to tell myself there's no reason to get pissed off. And then I get pissed. But I never actually got into it with somebody. It's more me sitting in my car, like banging the steering wheel, that kind of thing, cursing. But actually getting into a verbal thing when it's another driver, nah. But it's more me just getting mad. And then I realize that I'm a jackass and I calm down. Yeah, but it's more that. It's not really getting into it.
You got a favorite curse you use when you get ragey?
Probably just the standards, fuck and goddamn, and I get just the hits. I play the hits. I don't make up any words or anything. No. Be nice if I did. Wouldn't that be cool to make up your own curse word? How cool would that be?
Do you remember the last lady that you called a bitch?
The last lady that I called a bitch. I don't know if I've ever. You mean actually said it out loud?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done that. Maybe I've only thought it in my. I don't think I've ever said that to a woman.
You're a gentleman.
I've probably been too much of a. No, I'm just a coward, not a gentleman. Just a coward. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I totally thought of it or said to a friend, "Man, she's a bitch," but actually saying it to the woman, no, I don't think I've ever had the balls to do that. Not that I remember.
When you were in grade school, did you have a favorite teacher?
Did I have a favorite teacher? Probably not, because I was such a bad student that I can't imagine. I can't imagine. No, I mean, I was just such a bad, horrible student that
What was so bad about it?
I just hated school. I didn't see why am
that.
I here. I could be watching TV. I could be outside with my friends playing stickball or something. Why am I here? This just makes. Then as I got to be an adult and I was working in the factory, I was like, man, I should have paid attention at school. I know nothing. I have no. I have no chance to go to college. That was so fucking. I realized then how important school was, but it was too late. I didn't see but the whole time I was going, I didn't see the point of it.
Yeah.
I said it was like being locked in prison. It was like a prison sentence every day from 8 to 3. Why am I here? Why am I in this building? This is nothing. I could be watching the Phillies. I could be doing something. I could be having some fun. This is ridiculous. So it was like a prison sentence.
Now, when you talked about looking out the window and thinking about baseball or music, what were your daydreams usually entail?
I don't know, just the usual. Thinking about the comedy shows I would watch, or baseball. I don't know, nothing great. It was just I just couldn't. I didn't understand school. I didn't understand why I was there. What the whole point was. What am I getting out of this? And I would just I just stare blankly out the. I hated it. To the point when I went to a Catholic school, of course, and one of the priests in high school actually asked somebody, "That McGonigal, is he on drugs?" Because I was always staring at the. And here's the thing: I was the squarest kid. I never even smoked. I never even smoked the joint. So the idea that he would be asking if I was on drugs is hilarious. Because I was so boring that nobody would share drugs with me. Nobody even offered me any weed when I was in high school. That's how much of a boring square I was. So it was funny that he would ask somebody that.
Did you ever think about being a priest?
No. I think my parents had the stupid idea. Eddie might be a priest, but it was certainly in their head. It wasn't in mine. Never crossed my mind. I was an older boy, and I hated it, but only because basically my father gave me no choice. Yeah, and I was an older boy for 3 years, and I hated it. But I was basically given no choice. I had to be an older boy. I don't know why my father thought it was so important, but and it was awful. It was so boring being an older boy. I hated it, but. For 3 years, I was an older boy.
Did they at least treat you well while you were an altar boy?
I guess. I mean, it was just so boring. I mean, it was just run of the mill, boring. You just waiting to try to get out. To try to wait for the mass to be over. It wasn't treated well. It was just you were just another body. You were just another older boy. It wasn't anything special about it that I remember. It was pretty boring. It was pretty boring.
Now, what excites you besides like baseball, music, and comedy?
What excites me besides baseball? You hit the big three: baseball, music. Not probably. I don't know. You hit the big three. I like to read. I read a lot of books.
What do you like?
And mostly nonfiction, biography, autobiography. Got to the point where I had to go get a library card because I was spending too much money buying books. I said, This is ridiculous. So I got a library card. Now I just go borrow books for free because between the money and the clutter in my house from having these books that I bought, it was just too much. So I had to go get a library card. I just read like I'm reading John Fogerty's autobiography right now. I just read nonfiction stuff. I like to read, but
I like biographies too. I just started last night Bill Belichick's new book.
Yeah, he wrote a book.
He did, and
that's awesome.
I have a couple Belichick biographies which I really like. The book I'm not wild about, and I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way through.
Yeah, well, it would have been better if he wrote a book about the new girlfriend. That would have been a good book. That would have been an awesome book.
Now, could you envision yourself in a situation like him where this beautiful young lady just takes control of the reins and just basically runs your life?
I can't imagine it. I mean, I'd be hoping for it, but no, I can't imagine it would ever happen. No, that would be awesome. I wouldn't care what anybody thought either. If you've seen the girl, Jordan Hudson.
Yeah,
if I was
lady.
If I was sleeping with her, I wouldn't care what anybody said. They can make fun of me. Just say what you want. I could care less. But no, there's no chance of anything like that happening to me.
I don't know, Ed.
No,
I think you sell yourself short, man.
Yeah, well, I sell myself accurate. That's the sad part. I sell myself completely accurate. That's the bad part.
Who was the last person that you apologized to?
The last person I apologized to? I don't know. Probably, maybe I made a mistake at work or something. Maybe I apologized to a boss. I'm sure that was it. I don't know. It was probably something like that, making one of my mistakes at work or something. Just fucking up, I guess. I don't know. And outside of that, I don't know if I've apologized to anybody in a long time that I needed to. I don't know.
You don't really bother anybody. I've never seen you annoy anybody, bother anybody, give anybody a hard time.
No, I just go through life completely vanilla. Nobody even notices I'm there. Audiences don't notice I'm there. Nobody notices I'm there. That's the sad part.
You're being way too humble, Ed.
That's the sad part. I can't annoy anybody if they don't know you're there.
Ed, if you were attacked by Chucky, how would you fight him?
I was attacked by Chucky. Well, I'm sure I would lose. Chucky looks like a pretty tough doll. I'm sure I would get my ass kicked if I get attacked by Chucky. How would I fight Chucky? Now that's funny. That's funny. I've never seen any of those Chucky movies. They hit too close to home.
They're scary, man.
I'm not a horror guy. That's Kenzel. I'm not a horror guy.
Can you tell me about your first kiss?
My first kiss?
Yeah.
I don't know. If it ever happens, I'll call you and tell you. If I get to that point. If I can't tell you anything about men and women because I've been a spectator in the Battle of Sexes. I'm the guy up in the 700 level booing in Battle of Sexes. I can't tell you anything about that.
Can you tell me about one of your pipe dreams?
Well, obviously stand up, but it's been a 35-year pipe dream, isn't it? That's definitely what pipe dreams. I mean, just thinking that I could be some kind of comedian or comedy writer, which obviously was completely wrong. I wish I had never had that pipe dream. I never thought about anything else.
Yeah.
I never thought about wanting to do anything else. That's the sad part. And I spent 35 years driving off a cliff as attempting to be a comedian. Would have been nice if I had thought about doing something else. If I paid attention at school, maybe I could. That would have been a lot better.
I think anybody who's watching this who has seen you has had a completely different experience than you're describing.
Well, I mean, I'm glad they enjoy the shows. I mean, I've been 35 years blundering at the bottom of comedy, but I don't know. But maybe they've enjoyed the sets. That's cool, I guess.
Have you ever shared bunk beds with somebody?
No, I was an only child, so thankfully I never had to do that. When you're an only child, obviously sharing isn't something you learn. I had to learn I was pretty spoiled as a kid, obviously being a only child. But so then I had to learn that. It took me a long time to learn it. But bunk beds, no. I had the whole run of the house, as a kid, being an only child.
What would a typical summer day look like for you when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, but when I lived in Northeast Philly, it was different than it is now. Your street was like a small town. You knew everybody on the street. So you would just come out and you would wait to see who was the first kid out and who was the next kid out, and you'd start maybe playing a game of wire ball or wall ball, and eventually the other kids would come out and you'd get into something. Yeah. And you just get into just doing something with the other kids and the usual fights and that kind of stuff and arguments and stupid stuff. But it was just like a small town. All the kids knew each other, and you would just do something. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like now on my street, nobody knows anybody. There's like 60 houses, and nobody talks to anybody. Everybody keeps to themselves. It's weird. It's like a group of strangers who happen to live near each other. It's not a community anymore. It's really weird.
Ed, a couple more before we move over to Patreon. Who is one of the most beautiful women to you?
Who is one of the most beautiful? You mean like famous women?
Any, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Famous women. Maybe Natalie Wood or what's her name?
She was a beauty.
Who was the one that said Ava Gardner? Somebody like that. I guess somebody along those lines. Natalie Wood, Phoebe Cates, but the young Phoebe Cates.
Oh, beautiful lady. Yeah.
I guess people like that. When there's Hollywood women. I thought Winona Ryder was really beautiful when she was younger.
Yeah.
I don't know. All women who, if they met me, would run the other way. Would be running in the opposite direction. All women. Finally,
Ed, what is one thing that you're grateful for right now?
One thing that I'm grateful for? Well, I'll be 60 this year, and somehow I'm still alive, and I haven't had any health problems. I can't believe. In the last year, 4 guys from my neighborhood, right around my age, they all died in the last year. They were either like my age or maybe a year older, and they all died within the last year. And other people have had health problems, and now that I'm probably jinxing myself, but I still feel the same as I did when I was 30. I feel exactly.
That's what's up.
And I have no health problems except for hemorrhoids. But I can't even believe that I've been this healthy and I'm still alive. I don't know how long it's going to last, but don't worry. I paid for my funeral already. All that's taken care of.
You're unbreakable.
Yeah, unbreakable. So we're done this segment.
Yeah.
Just want to tell people that the McGonigal podcast. Check it out. My producer will be pissed if I don't plug it. The McGonigal podcast, all the platforms. NPR for Dummies. Please check it out. Mike will be on again soon as a guest. And thankfully, I have John Kenzel a lot as a guest, but still tune in. John's actually great. John's actually great every time he comes on.
And I can't tell you enough. You're one of my favorite people. You constantly sell yourself short, but there's no doubt anybody who comes to see you live is in for a fucking treat.
Well, they might be, but I don't sell myself short. I sell myself accurate. I've had, in my opinion, the worst comedy career ever. I've easily had the worst comedy career ever. Nobody has spent 35 years in comedy and been completely at the bottom. Nobody. So, they're going to put me in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Ed, I'm telling you right now.
Most years at the bottom.
If you don't start complimenting yourself, I'm going to set these cats loose in here on you.
Going to pick it up like Levy and throw it at me?
Oh,
Like Bob?
I need to hear about that when we switch over to Patreon.
Oh, that's fine.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for watching part 1 of this episode with my buddy Eddie McGonigal. We're heading over to patreon.com/gettingsomehead for part 2. I can't wait to find out more about what you got going on
my
here,
exciting life.
Ed, I have one more question I want to ask you before we head over there. I lied. I forgot one. This is actually a sponsored question, and this is from Finish the Story podcast. They want to know, what is the first joke you remember from your early years of stand-up?
First joke I remember. I used to. This is one of the first. It may not be the first, but Arsenio Hall actually made a comment where he said, "I consider myself the Martin Luther King of comedy." Arsenio said that, and my joke was, "Yeah, Martin Luther King's slogan was nonviolent social change. Arsenio's slogan is ooh, ooh, ooh." Well, it's like looking in a mirror. The resemblance is eerie. Yeah. Arsenio is Martin Luther King, and Dice Clay, he's Gandhi. That was early on. It was a stupid joke, and it's still stupid.
I loved it. Oh my God.
McGonigal podcast. More of that great comedy on the McGonigal podcast every 2 weeks, twice a month.
And thank you, Finish the Story podcast, for that question. All right, we'll see you guys over at patreon.com/gettingsomehead. Later, guys.